Imagine staring into the eyes of your newborn, knowing she might not survive, and then hearing your own mother tell you she's a lost cause. That moment shattered my world, but it also ignited a fire so fierce. My so-called family would live to regret every cruel word they uttered. Just hours after she entered the world, my precious Emma was fighting for her life. Doctors used words like congenital, defect, urgent intervention. My hand trembled in Jacob's as we listened, a cold dread seeping into our bones. Our daughter, so tiny, so perfect, had a complex heart condition. The first surgery alone? A staggering $200,000. And that was just the beginning. Jacob, a middle school teacher. Me, a freelance graphic designer. Our insurance was a band-aid on a gaping wound. The gap between what we had and what Emma needed felt like an ocean I was sure would drown us. That night, with Jacob finally asleep in an uncomfortable hospital chair, I clung to one last hope: family. My affluent parents, my sister who'd married into money, my successful brother, my aunt with her rental properties. Surely blood meant something when a baby's life hung by a thread? The next morning I called my mother. Her cheerful voice turned cold the moment I spoke of Emma's heart. A heart problem? Well, that's unfortunate, she said, as if commenting on the weather. I swallowed my pride. Mom, we need help. Anything you could contribute would mean everything to us. The silence was deafening. Then my father's booming voice cut through the phone, clear as day. You're asking us for money for some risky medical procedure that probably won't even work? I gasped. Dad, she's your granddaughter. She's just a baby. His next words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. Why would we waste our money on a lost cause? Get lost. Then my sister Vanessa chimed in from somewhere nearby, dismissive, cruel. Honestly, Sarah, you've always been so dramatic. Babies die every day. But it was my mother's final chilling words that carved themselves into my memory. Words that would haunt me for years. You can always have more. If one goes, one comes. Nature has a way of working these things out. She hung up. I sat there, phone silent in my hand, feeling something fundamental break inside me. My own family. They had abandoned us. Jacob's jaw clenched so hard I heard his teeth grind. Then we do this ourselves, he declared, his voice full of a righteous fury that matched my own. My brother Kyle texted later. Heard about your situation. Tough break. Can't help though. Just bought a new boat. Aunt Patricia never even replied. Vanessa sent a cheap gift basket with a generic card. It was a slap in the face. Emma underwent her first surgery at 6 days old. I held her tiny, perfect face, memorizing every detail, terrified I'd never see her eyes open again. 8 agonizing hours later, Dr. Richardson emerged, exhausted but victorious. Emma was a fighter, but the relief was fleeting. The hospital bills, the payment plans, the outstanding balances, they didn't care about our emotional state. We maxed out 3 credit cards. Jacob tutored every evening. I worked until 2 or 3 a.m., taking every freelance graphic design project, no matter how small or tedious. We sold my car. We sold Jacob's cherished guitar collection. We ate rice and beans day in and day out. It wasn't enough. Emma came home fragile, covered in incisions, hooked up to monitors that beeped if her oxygen levels dropped. I barely slept, watching her breathe, counting each heartbeat, terrified every moment that we'd lose her because we couldn't afford what came next. One evening, scrolling through social media, utterly depleted, I saw a post about a college friend who'd raised money for her dog's emergency surgery through videos. $12,000 in a week. I looked at Emma, sleeping soundly in her bassinet, at the mountain of medical bills stacked on our kitchen table, at the terrifying future stretching out before us. Desperation has a way of obliterating self-consciousness. I'd always been camera shy, but Emma needed me. I set up my phone on a stack of books, pressed record, and started talking. My voice broke as I spoke of Emma's birth, the joy turning to terror just hours later. I laid bare her diagnosis, her future surgeries, her incredible fight. And then, through tears, I repeated my mother's cruel words. I showed the medical bills without revealing personal information. I introduced Emma, still sleeping, her tiny, determined chest rising and falling. I'm not good at asking for help, I whispered, wiping my eyes. But I'm asking now. Anything you can give, even $1, even just sharing this video, it all matters. It all helps save my daughter's life. I created a GoFundMe, posted the video everywhere I could, and then went to check on Emma, trying not to hope too hard. By the way, if Emma's story has touched your heart, and you're still with me on this unbelievable journey, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. More powerful stories are coming, and your support means the world. The first donation came in at 11 that night. $20 from a stranger with a message. Your daughter is beautiful. Praying for her. I cried reading it. By morning there were 30 more donations totaling $400. Felt like a miracle. I made another video, heartfelt, authentic, showing how much each contribution meant. Something about it resonated. People started sharing. A parenting blogger with a large following posted about Emma's story. A local news station reached out for an interview. I said yes to everything, swallowing my pride and my privacy because Emma's life mattered more than my comfort. The donations became a torrent. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. I made videos updating everyone on Emma's progress, showing her tiny smiles, the way she grabbed Jacob's finger with surprising strength. People invested in her story because I showed them the raw reality. The fear, the hope, the struggle, the triumph. I showed the difficult moments when she struggled to eat, when her oxygen levels dropped. I showed the better days when her cardiologist said she was exceeding expectations. $20,000, $50,000. The numbers climbed higher than I'd ever imagined possible. Complete strangers were funding my daughter's future, giving pieces of their own lives to save hers. 3 months later, the GoFundMe hit $750,000. I sat staring at the number, tears blurring my vision, unable to process that this was real. Emma's next surgery was scheduled in 4 weeks. We could afford it. We could afford the ones after that. We could set money aside for her future care, for emergencies, for the life she deserved to live. Jacob found me crying over the laptop, panicked, until I showed him the screen. And soon we were both crying, holding each other in our cramped kitchen as Emma gurgled happily in her swing. People are good, I whispered. Even when your own family isn't, people are good. The crushing weight that had been on my chest since her birth finally lifted enough that I could take a full, deep breath. The crushing anxiety was replaced by something fragile, but real, hope. 3 weeks later, the doorbell rang. Saturday morning. I was feeding Emma. Jacob answered, and I heard his confused greeting followed by my mother's voice, loud and imperious as always. Well, don't just stand there. Invite us in. My father's heavy footsteps followed her into our living room. Then Vanessa, dressed expensively, looking around our modest apartment with barely concealed disdain. Hello, Sarah, my mother said, a smirk playing on her lips. We heard about your little fundraising success. Very clever of you. Exploiting people's emotions like that. My father sat on our couch without being invited, spreading his arms across the back like he owned the place. The money you've saved up. Hand it over. We'll take care of it. I gripped Emma's bottle, fighting to keep my voice steady. Excuse me. Vanessa scoffed, examining her manicured nails. Come on, Sarah. You can't be trusted to manage that much money. You'll waste it on unnecessary procedures and emotional decisions. The family should control those funds. And then the ultimate insult, my mother added, settling into the armchair. After all, you have a sister who needs to get married for the 5th time. The wedding alone will cost at least $100,000. My family, standing in my home, demanding my dying daughter's medical funds for a 5th wedding. My blood ran cold. No, I said, my voice shaking with fury. It's for Emma's medical care. For her future. For her life. My father's face hardened. Don't be selfish, Sarah. This family has needs. My family. I retorted. My daughter is my family. You made it clear you're not part of ours when you told me to let her die. My mother waved a dismissive hand. Oh, don't be so dramatic. We never said that exactly. Mom, I said, my voice rising. You said I could always have more babies. You said if one goes, one comes. You called my daughter a lost cause. Vanessa rolled her eyes. You're never going to let that go, are you? We were being realistic. Get out, Jacob said from the doorway, his voice shaking with restrained rage. Get out of our home right now. My father stood up, his face reddening. We're not leaving without what we came for. That money belongs to the family. No, I said firmly. It's for my daughter's future. My father moved with surprising speed for a man his age. He crossed the room and snatched my phone from where it sat on the coffee table next to Emma's diaper bag. Consider this a family loan, he sneered, already heading for the door. We'll transfer the funds to a proper account, where they can be managed responsibly. That phone is password protected. I called after him. You can't access anything. He paused at the door, his smile unpleasant. Vanessa works in tech consulting, Sarah. She'll figure it out. We'll be in touch about how we'll distribute the funds appropriately. They left. They actually left. With my phone. Jacob immediately moved to call the police, but I stopped him. Wait, Sarah, they just stole your phone. They're trying to steal Emma's medical fund. I know, I said, sitting down and pulling Emma into my arms. She looked up at me with her serious blue eyes, completely unaware of what had just happened. But they have no idea what I had planned for all of them. Jacob stared. What are you talking about? I hadn't told him, not fully. I wasn't sure I'd go through with it. But the moment my father walked out, that last hesitation evaporated. I've been documenting everything, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Since they first refused to help. Every text message. Every voicemail. Every interaction. I have Kyle's text about buying a boat instead of helping. I recorded the phone call with Mom the day Emma was born. I've saved everything. Why? He asked. Because I knew they'd come eventually. I knew that the moment we had something they wanted, they'd show up, pretending they'd cared all along. So I prepared. Jacob sat down beside me. What's on that phone they took? Nothing they can use, I replied. Everything important is backed up to the cloud with two-factor authentication. The GoFundMe account isn't accessible from that phone anyway. It requires additional verification. They'll get into the phone eventually and find family photos, some work files, basic apps. Nothing that matters. So they just stole a phone for nothing? They stole a phone, threatened us, admitted they want to take Emma's medical fund for Vanessa's 5th wedding, and did it all in front of witnesses. I looked at him. You heard everything, right? Every word. Good. I reached for Jacob's phone on the armrest where he'd left it. So did this. I opened the recording app. The moment my mother's imperious voice echoed at our door, I'd started it. 23 minutes of crystal clear audio, documenting every word my family had said, every cruel demand, every blatant lie. Jacob's eyes widened. You recorded them? I recorded them in our home, I stated, a chilling calm settling over me, where we have every legal right to document what happens. And now I'm going to make one more video. That afternoon, Emma strapped safely in her car seat, Jacob and I drove to our bank and met with Margaret Chen, a financial advisor specializing in medical trusts for children with chronic health conditions. You're doing the right thing, she assured us, reviewing our documentation. A special needs trust meant these funds could only ever be used for Emma's qualified medical expenses. Not even a court order could redirect them for other purposes. It was ironclad. We provided all of Emma's medical records, the GoFundMe terms of service showing donor intent, projections from Dr. Richardson about future care costs, and documentation of every expense we'd already incurred. Margaret created an ironclad structure. My family could try whatever they wanted legally, but this trust was protected under federal law. Nobody could touch Emma's money. I felt a profound sense of relief signing those documents. Every dollar that strangers had donated out of pure compassion would go exactly where they'd intended. I took photos of the signed paperwork, Emma babbling happily in Jacob's arms, oblivious to the battle we were winning for her future. Back home, I began crafting the most important video of my life. I didn't rush it. Each piece of evidence needed context, each moment carefully explained. I started with a brief recap of Emma's condition and the original fundraising campaign, thanking the heroes who'd saved her. Then the tone shifted. 3 months ago, when Emma was born, I called my parents begging for help. Any amount would have mattered. Here's what they said. I played the audio from that first call. My mother's chilling words. You can always have more. If one goes, one comes. My father's dismissive. Why would we waste our money on a lost cause? Get lost. The words sounded even worse played back. I showed Kyle's boat text, Vanessa's cheap card, zooming in on the mass-produced cursive. For 3 months, not one member of my biological family visited Emma in the hospital, I continued. Not during her first surgery when we didn't know if she'd survive. Not during the complications when she struggled to breathe. Not once. I showed visitor logs from the hospital, Jacob, friends, co-workers, my old college roommate, but zero entries for my biological family. Then came the doorbell footage. The video quality was excellent. My father's face, clearly visible, snatching my phone. Vanessa's dismissive expression. The audio picked up every word about the 5th wedding, about taking control of the funds, about the family's needs. These are the people who told me my daughter wasn't worth saving, I said to the camera, holding Emma close. These are the people who laughed when I begged for help. And now they want to take the money that strangers donated out of pure kindness and use it for a 5th wedding. I explained the medical trust in detail, showing the signed documents with sensitive information redacted. Every penny you donated is legally protected. It can only be used for Emma's healthcare. My parents can't access it. My sister can't access it. It's going exactly where you intended it to go. The video ran 18 minutes long. Jacob watched it quietly saying, "They're going to lose their minds." Good, I replied, my finger hovering over the upload button. They should have thought about the consequences before they showed up demanding money meant for a sick baby. I posted it Sunday at 7 p.m., prime social media time. The first 100 comments came within minutes. Expressions of outrage, disbelief, solidarity. By 9 p.m., 20,000 views. By midnight, 300,000. News stations called. National news websites ran articles. Family demands toddler's medical fund for sister's 5th wedding. Parents who called baby a lost cause try to steal her life-saving GoFundMe. Each article linked directly to my videos, driving millions more views. My father's construction business page was swarmed with negative reviews. Vanessa's tech consulting firm was hit. Kyle's dealership faced protests with signs reading, "Don't buy from people who abandon sick babies." I felt a twinge of something that might have been guilt, but it evaporated when I looked at Emma. She was alive because of strangers' kindness, despite my family's cruelty. If there were consequences for that cruelty, they had earned them. When my mother called 3 days later, her voice tight with fury. How could you? Do you have any idea what you've done to this family? Your father's business has lost 6 clients. Vanessa got suspended. Kyle's dealership has people protesting outside. You've destroyed everything. I remained calm. You did this, Mom. You destroyed yourselves the moment you decided Emma wasn't worth your time or money. You destroyed yourselves when you showed up demanding money for a wedding instead of a child's life. I just made sure people knew who you really are. Vanessa grabbed the phone. You vindictive little witch. I'm going to sue you for defamation. I just laughed. Good luck with that. I've already consulted with 3 lawyers who confirmed everything I posted is factual and legally protected speech. Truth is an absolute defense. My mother sobbed in the background. We're family. How can you treat family this way? You taught me how, Mom, I said, my voice quiet but firm. You taught me that family means nothing when you told me to let my daughter die. You taught me that blood doesn't matter when you laughed at me for trying to save her. You taught me that sometimes the people who share your DNA are the ones who hurt you most. I'm just a good student, Mom. I hung up. Aunt Patricia's angry voicemail, claiming she'd wanted to help all along and that telling me to let my daughter die was a joke, only made things worse for them when I posted it. Mental health professionals commented on the textbook manipulation. When they sent a cease and desist letter, our lawyer Frank Mendoza just laughed. Garbage lawsuit. We'll countersue. The legal threat backfired spectacularly. Vanessa was terminated for conduct unbecoming. My father's business never recovered, long-term clients fleeing, new customers choosing competitors. He laid off his entire crew and was reduced to working solo jobs, a dramatic fall from the small empire he'd built. Kyle's reputation was permanently damaged, his wife filing for divorce, citing a pattern of selfishness. My mother's emails piled up unread. I felt no satisfaction in their downfall, no guilt either. They made their choices. They showed their true nature. I simply held up a mirror and let the world see what I'd been dealing with my entire life. Emma's second surgery happened a week later at Boston Children's Hospital. Dr. Richardson and her team worked for 12 hours reconstructing parts of Emma's heart. I sat in the waiting room with Jacob, surrounded by other families fighting their own battles, and felt the strange peace that comes from knowing you've done everything possible. Emma pulled through even stronger than before. The nurses called her their little warrior. The community that had rallied for her cheered every milestone in my video updates. She had 2 more procedures over the next 18 months, each one successful, each one bringing her closer to a normal childhood. Dr. Richardson said that by the time Emma was 3, she'd be able to do everything other kids her age did. We moved to a bigger apartment, paid off our debts, and started saving for her college fund. Life wasn't perfect. We still worried about her health, still had moments of fear. But the crushing weight of impossible debt was gone, replaced by the manageable concerns of normal parenthood. Emma's 3rd birthday party was small, just a few close friends and their children, held in our local park on a perfect September afternoon. Emma wore a princess dress, laughing, chasing butterflies with the unself-conscious joy of a child who didn't remember being too sick to play. Jacob's arm was around me as I watched her blow out her candles, and I felt the gratitude that had become my constant companion. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Sarah. My mother's voice, older and uncertain. It's your mother. I walked away from the party, finding a quiet spot under a tree. What do you want? I wanted to wish Emma a happy birthday. She's 3 today, isn't she? She is. A long pause. I saw the photos you posted. She looks healthy. She is. The surgery's worked. She's going to be fine. Another pause, longer this time. I've been going to therapy, trying to understand why I said those things, why I acted that way. The therapist says I have issues with control and empathy, that I never learned how to put others before myself. That's good, I said neutrally. Self-awareness is important. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. And I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you, how I treated Emma. For choosing money and status and stupid pride over my granddaughter's life. I'm sorry. I watched Emma across the park, chocolate cake smeared across her face, glowing with health. My perfect, beautiful daughter. Alive because strangers have been kinder than family. I appreciate you saying that, I told her. I hope therapy helps you, but Emma and I have a good life now. We have people who love us. We don't have room for people who treated us like we were disposable. Will you at least keep the door open? She asked quietly. Not now, I said finally. But maybe someday. That day isn't today, and it probably isn't tomorrow either. If you really want to change, do it for yourself, not because you expect me to welcome you back. That's fair, she whispered. Happy birthday to Emma and Sarah. Thank you for saving her when we didn't. You're a better mother than I ever was. She hung up before I could respond. I stood there for a moment, processing the conversation, feeling the complexity of a hurt that never fully heals, but sometimes scars over enough to stop bleeding. Jacob found me under the tree. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, taking his hand. Everything's okay. We walked back to the party together. Emma saw us and ran over, her arms outstretched, yelling, "Mama, Daddy!" With a pure enthusiasm that defined her personality. I scooped her up, felt her healthy heartbeat against my chest, and knew that every choice I'd made had been the right one. Sometimes the family you choose matters more than the family you're born into. Sometimes the kindness of strangers outweighs the cruelty of blood relatives. Sometimes justice looks like protecting what matters most and letting the consequences fall where they may. Emma kissed my cheek, leaving chocolate frosting behind, and whispered, "Love you, Mama," with the absolute certainty of a child who'd never doubted she was wanted. I held her close, surrounded by friends who'd become family, and felt the weight of the past 3 years settle into something I could finally carry without breaking. The revenge I'd taken wasn't about destroying them. It was about building a life they couldn't touch, protecting a daughter they dismissed, and proving that the best payback is simply succeeding despite everyone who said you'd fail. Emma was alive and thriving. We were happy. We were free. And as Emma's laughter filled the afternoon, their noise faded into the background. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to choose between your biological family and your own peace? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I truly want to hear from you.